GSMC Baseball Podcast, and we'll be talking about our next segment here, and that is injured free agents. And I'll get into what I mean more with that specifically. But basically, I thought of this because, according to Jeff Passan, who obviously is very reliable, the top baseball guy, he was reporting that Liam Hendriks is signing soon and signing with the team soon. He's actually supposed to sign by today. So if we could get some breaking news on this recording I'm doing, that would be very nice, and I would very much appreciate that. It would be bring something exciting to the show. Not the show isn't exciting. You should still watch it. It's very exciting, but I think it would bring another level of my raw reaction and just seeing of it on the spot. So now Liam Hendriks is a very interesting case. We'll talk about someone else who's like him right after, but we know what Hendriks is. Liam Hendriks, one of the better, sorry about that, one of the better closers in baseball over the past few years. Had what was really unfortunate these past few years, got diagnosed with cancer, which obviously is horrible. Thankfully beat the cancer, came back to play, and then around 5 games later, he had Tommy John surgery. Just an absolutely unremarkable, unfortunate piece of events right there for him and his career. So yeah, I mean, just awful what happened to him. I mean, it's pretty clearly what awful that happened. It's pretty awful what happened to him. So, but you look at what's going on with him right now. Yeah, I mean, a team that signs him, you're getting him for 2025. You're signing him to be the closer for 2025, be a back end bullpen guy. We've seen this in the past. We've seen teams like the Dodgers do it a lot. Smarter organizations like that, spend money on a guy who's hurt, have him come back next year, and hopefully rehab with the team, get familiarized, and then come back and be really good. We saw it last year with Chad Green, who on the Toronto Blue Jays obviously hasn't pitched yet, but hopefully does. So yeah, I think it's really interesting. Hendricks being a free agent, with him being hurt, him signing soon. Because he's a pitcher, I think the rehab is really more interesting, and because he's going to be going to a whole new team. I don't expect him to resign with the White Sox. That would make no sense for either the team or the player, considering the White Sox are in a rebuild phase and Liam Hendriks is older, so probably wants to try and ring chase as he should. So yeah, I mean, he's older, so the rehab is going to be more. But when you're signing Liam Hendriks for next year, and when you're signing him, you're getting one of the better closers in baseball, a guy that you can rely on in the ninth inning to get you 3 outs, have ice in his veins, be very good. And I look at a few teams here. I look at teams that are smart, like the Dodgers. The Dodgers make a lot of sense for Liam Hendriks. They know how to deal with these kind of players, obviously. They spent a lot of money. They're probably not stopping soon. If he wants to win, I don't think there's a better team to win with than the Dodgers. They're doing this right now with Blake Treinen as well, rehabbing a reliever who's hurt and, bringing him back to form a little bit. So yeah, it's really interesting to see where Hendricks ends up. I think it's going to be something to watch over today. So keep your notifications on, see if he does sign. I think it's just a really interesting thing to see what happens, how he does perform when he comes back. Rehabbing on a different team after signing, learning a whole new organization. That's something that's really hard to do. So yeah, I think it's something to watch here, something to watch for the rest of the offseason. Just a storyline I think is really interesting, and because he's signing soon, I thought it was something I should talk about. Next, we have one of the more interesting ones, and that is Brandon Woodruff. So, with Brandon Woodruff, he's in the same boat as Liam Hendriks. Got hurt last year, got surgery in the offseason, and is going to be out for most of 2024, if not all of it, most likely all of it. But he could, return. I would say it's unlikely, but his injury's not that. His injury's serious, but it's not Tommy John, so we don't really know. But yeah, you're getting the same thing with Hendricks, but in a different way. Obviously, Woodruff is a starter. He's one of the better starters in baseball. I'd say definitely top 20. Was so good with the Brewers when healthy, but kind of just had injuries and now is non-tendered. I kind of thought he would sign really, really early. It was reported that all 30 teams had interest, which makes sense. I mean, getting an ace at this young for free, for, probably not going to pay him much this offseason this season, because he won't be pitching. He's just going to be rehabbing. So, makes a lot of sense. Um, yeah, you're just, yeah, I mean, any team that signs him, you're getting an ace for next year, a guy that maybe can even help you down the road in September and October if he is healthy. Specifically, I'd look at the team with the best fit here as the Mets. Andy Martino, who I mentioned before with the Yankees, also covers the Mets, just great with New York baseball all around. Really knows what he's talking about. He mentioned the Mets are a team to watch for. Woodruff, they've had conversations with him. And it makes sense. The Mets, first of all, are not entirely going forward in 2024. Their big thing is 2025 and beyond, and that's what Woodruff brings because he's going to be out for this year. You're signing him for next year. You're signing him to be an ace, a guy that can anchor your pitching staff coming off of injury. So it does make a lot of sense. Um, uh, I mean, you obviously have David Stearns there from the Brewers with the Mets. He knows him very well, of course. So this fit makes a lot of sense for the Mets and for Woodruff. He doesn't have that much pressure to come back for 2024 because the Mets aren't trying to win a World Series. I'd say they're trying to make the playoffs, maybe come back for that, but it's not as much pressure you'd have if you're signing a team like maybe the Dodgers, who I mentioned with Hendricks. Just because I mention them again here because they have a history of doing these things. It does make a lot of sense, and they need pitching for the future. Uh, with Glasnow and Yamamoto really being the only guys tied up, you have some young guys, but always adding Brandon Woodruff. I mean, just that would be a super team at that point. So, yeah, yeah. So Woodruff makes too much sense here for the Brewers. Um, sorry, for the Mets. Sorry. Um, yeah, I'm really interested to see what happens with this. I'm interested to see what his rehab looks like. What goes on with that, how he bounces back from it, how he performs. And it's just something to watch here. Where he does sign, when he does sign eventually, there's been really no rumors about him, which I thought has been very, very weird. I would have thought he would have been everyone's top priority, especially after the every team in the league report came out, which it should, by the way. You're getting an ace really for free this season, and then you're getting him to pitch next season off and completely healthy off injury. So it just makes a lot of sense for a team like the Mets sign him, or a team, or just another team in general who needs a starter for next year. Maybe even a young team, maybe even a young team, maybe like the Reds going to the NL Central counterpart who could use pitching next year when they're really going to be going for it. I have them being the best team in the NL Central this year, but um, I think next year is really going to be their year to be a World Series contender. So it make a lot of sense. Next, we're going to talk about guys who got injured this past season and are now signing as healthy free agents. First guy that comes to mind is, of course, guy who went to Brandon Woodruff's former team, Rhys Hoskins. Hoskins, of course, tore his ACL in spring training with the Phillies, just an unfortunate situation. Kind of was that reason that the Phillies then moved Bryce Harper to first base, which is going to be his position for the future. So because they moved him to first base, he really did not have a home with the Phillies, and it made sense for both sides to move on. He didn't have a fit there. Um, and signing with the Brewers, I thought was a really strong fit for him. They needed a power bat, they needed a first baseman, just someone in the middle of the order to really solidify that lineup. It was a lot of good young pieces, but I don't think has that elite power bat that they need to win. And then a few weeks later, they traded Corbin Burns. So after what I thought was a push to win the Central, they trade one of their better players. So I thought that was very strange. But um, maybe they think adding Hoskins just puts them in the NL Central again. Maybe they think, okay, we're going to sign Hoskins, we're going to nurse him back to health, we're going to get him to his old form again, and we're going to trade him at the deadline to get prospects to help our kind of retooling, which I guess could work as well. It was just very interesting to me. You sign a guy like Hoskins, who's definitely a win now move, and you then trade your best player. I don't know. It was just very strange to me that it happened. But again, the Brewers have a plan. They're a smart organization, so they obviously know more than me. But I did like the signing. I think his rehab's going to be fine. He's a first baseman. He's a hitter. All he has to do is hit, really. He's not playing much defense at first base and DH, whatever role he does play with the Brewers. So I think he'll be fine. Obviously, pitchers have much more strenuous rehab and coming back from this kind of stuff. So I think Hoskins will be fine. And I like the signing for the Brewers. I did. They traded Burns, but still I liked it. I like what they did with it. So yeah. Next, Frankie Montas, going to the NL Central rival of where Mr. Hoskins did sign, and that is the Cincinnati Reds. I love this move for the Reds. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. I thought he was a sure lock to sign with the Yankees, but the Reds gave him a $16 million contract, which I thought was a little steep, but I guess he did as well, and that's why he signed there. The Reds are a young team. They need pitching. You had a guy like Montas, who's definitely a veteran. I think it makes a lot of sense. He came back last year. I think only had one start. Take that with a grain of salt, whatever he did do. So yeah, but I like the signing definitely. I think he'll be back and better. People forget how good healthy Frankie Montas is. And I think the Reds fans and the Reds team are going to see it, how much he really is a factor in that rotation, how much he really is going to help them. They have young pitchers. They have Nick Lodolo. They have Hunter Green. They have a young team with so many good young hitting stars. Matt McLain, Ellie De La Cruz, just so many more. Novelli Marte, Christian Encarnacion Strands, Ira Candelario, who signed there, going to solidify third base for them and just more of an infield spot. Kind of a questionable signing, but that's a different conversation. So yeah, I'd love to Spontas signing for the Reds. I think his rehab's going to go well. You saw him perform last year. If the Yankees were in it, he might have gone there more. I thought he was a lock to resign with the Yankees. Kind of okay. I'm gonna make up for the fact that you acquired me in a big trade and I didn't really pitch for you. But nope, he signed with the Reds and the Yankees signed Stroman. So I still think it was a good fit for Montas going to a young team who has they have some potential on them. People want to see them win, and I think Montas can really help with that. If he can be a really good 2 or 3 for this team, the Reds can go far. And the fit with Montas just made a lot of sense for Cincinnati. So yeah, I really did like it. Just recapping here, Liam Hendricks, I think he'll be good with whatever team does sign him. He is signing soon, so let's hope we get that on stream. Let's hope it does happen soon. And let's hope he goes to a good fit. I really want to see that guy win. He definitely deserves it. Brandon Woodruff, again, a pitcher I really want the Mets to target. It just makes too much sense for us, makes sense for a lot of teams. And it's kind of baffling there haven't been more rumors about him. Rhys Hoskins, good signing for the Brewers. Frankie Montas, good signing with the Reds. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future.